some NBA, a lot of storylines going on in the NBA on this Friday. And really during the past week, got a lot of dysfunction going on with Cleveland. You got Fultz's shot with the Sixers. You got some potential trades that are going to be talked about. We'll see if it bears out as well. Michael Lee does a great job covering the NBA for Yahoo. Great follow on Twitter. I love the handle, Mr. Michael Lee, but he's kind enough to join us on a Friday. What's going on, Michael?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Good to talk to you again. All right, let's get into it real quick with Cleveland, the dysfunction that is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let me ask you this. I don't know if it's a, quote, report or if it was a opinion or if it was a thought that Cavs owner Dan Gilbert was looking to sell or was going to sell the team. What do you know about this? What have you heard?
Only what you heard. I mean, it sounds like Gilbert might be trying to get out while the getting's good. I mean, I know that there's some rumors out there that, he's interested in possibly buying the Tigers since he's a Detroit guy. But, there's a lot of things that are floating around now. It's hard to say for sure, but the Cavs are definitely going through a lot of problems, and they mainly start with the fact that they traded Kyrie Irving, who was really their future. And, when you look at just the last 4 years, and what they've surrendered, to make LeBron happy, they've given up two pieces that could keep the Cavaliers relevant for, another decade. But now things might be over once LeBron decides he's done.
It's interesting, too. Tyronn Lue tinkered with the lineup, Crowder to the bench, Thompson in the starting lineup, Kevin Love back at power forward. But, I mean, listen, we can look at the X and O's of this team, and they are struggling. Last year, defensively, I was so adamant, hey, I don't know if they're going to be able to turn it on. And they were able to turn it on come playoff time when they had to because it was a veteran team and they got back to the finals. This is you talk about their defense. I mean, it's horrible. You're ranked dead last in defensive efficiency. But what stands out, what's more alarming is, forget about they dropped 10 out of 13. It's the way opponents just score with ease. I mean, you're giving up 114 or more in 6 of the last 8. And then you had the horrible defensive effort where nobody showed up against Oklahoma City where they gave up 148. I mean, do you believe this is now a serious problem, or that's okay, they'll figure it out come spring?
Nah, they're not going to figure it out unless they make some moves. They are sort of in a position where, a guy like LeBron, who's driven, who's chasing ghosts, who's trying to add more rings to his legacy, wants to go down as the greatest. Every year matters. Every run matters. But there's a reason why not many teams have made 4 straight trips to the NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's hard to maintain that focus. It's hard to maintain that hunger and that desire. And I feel like a lot of the guys on the team that have been through this before, they're not into it like they used to be. Everybody's paid, everybody's got their money. There's not much more incentive to just keep going all out. And I just feel like you're missing contributions from J.R. Smith. Tristan Thompson has been just absent pretty much all year. And so there's so many guys that just aren't contributing the way they once did. Amon Shumpert. And you kind of just have a group that may have just plateaued. So I think if they make a move, if they make a trade, I think that they could possibly inject some life into this team. Because I think right now they've got too many guys that are comfortable and kind of fat and happy and content with the fact that they won a championship 2 years ago.
Little NBA on a Friday right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Rich Quinones here. We'll take you up to 2. Michael Lee covers the NBA for Yahoo Sports. Great follow on Twitter, joining us, kind enough to join us via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. I look at it, and you mentioned, too, with Smith struggling, Isaiah Thomas really has yet to find any type of rhythm. But to me, there's really just 2 paths here. They're going to make a deal to keep LeBron, the player, / owner / coach happy, or you kind of hedge your bets and you start preparing for him to leave in the summer. Listen, when you look at the Eastern Conference and you look at the Boston Celtics, is it while Cleveland's kind of imploding, and I agree with you, I think I said this the other day, when the Pistons, when they had that great doc on the Bad Boys, just getting back there, it just takes a toll, and so much basketball and long seasons, and then guys get a little fat, so to speak, when they win a couple times, and maybe the fire, the desire is not there. So if you have a full-out implosion here with Cleveland, should the Eastern Conference, should it belong to the Boston Celtics? Because I think right now they are the best team. I mean, far and away in the Eastern Conference.
Well, I mean, they have considerable talent. And if they can get Gordon Hayward, if he comes back healthy by the end of the year, then yeah, for sure. I think one team that's being overlooked throughout all of this is the Toronto Raptors, who have, quietly been hanging around all year, and they even spent a couple of days as the number one seed for a stretch there. They're a team that, no one's talking about, and they've changed their whole philosophy. They've changed how they play basketball. They shoot more threes. DeMar DeRozan is putting up numbers that, if you look at them statistically,
MVP
comparable to the MVP number from Kobe's season in 2008. But no one's talking about them. No one takes them seriously. But they're a team that hasn't had much, many rough stretches. They haven't had any losing streaks of consequence. And they got a bunch of young guys who are coming in, and you got to give Masai Ujiri some credit for what he's done to draft and from Dwayne Casey to develop these guys and the contributors. So, it is Boston. I think they're a favorite now, but don't overlook Toronto and what they've been able to do, because they deserve some credit for just what Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan basically saying what we were doing wasn't working, so it's time to try something different, and they're being rewarded for it.
Yeah, they played really well at home. They're a much better rebounding team, and we talked about Cleveland's lack of defense. I mean, Toronto, they're top 10 in points allowed in the NBA. I'm curious to get your thoughts because the Sixers are in our backyard, and because of the Eastern Conference, and listen, I don't think it's hard to make the playoffs in the NBA, especially when you have a weak Eastern Conference. To me, the Sixers, if they don't make the playoffs, I think it would be a huge disappointment. And right now, currently, they're the 7th seed. But I'm curious, what's your thoughts on the whole Fultz situation? Because there's always this video, there has been video floating around. He had the injury with the shoulder and then the shot and maybe the lack of confidence, and now he's working on a free throw. And I said during the opening monologue, it just reminds me of the guy at the YMCA. He has the great move, but he can't finish. I mean, you're looking at Fultz's shot. It's ugly. Brett Brown said the other day he's going to be out there when he can shoot, and it doesn't look like that's going to be anytime soon. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on Fultz, and if you think this is a mechanical thing or a mental thing, and where do you kind of handicap the Sixers when it comes to the rest of these teams in the Eastern Conference?
I think it's both as it relates to Fultz. I think it is a mechanical thing and a mental thing. I think that one led to the other, and now they're stuck with each other. When you think about the fact that either he tried to alter his shot and got hurt, or he got hurt and altered his shot, however you want to explain it, it's been explained multiple ways. But whatever it is, he doesn't look right. And I think that the Sixers did a disservice early this year by throwing him out because they were determined to try to make a playoff push. But I think there's one thing you got to consider. They can make the playoffs this year, and they're right there in the thick of things. But they are a very young team. And there's one thing to be said about having playoff talent. Another thing about having the discipline and knowing what it takes to make it through an 82-game season. And the guys that they're depending on have yet to do that. Joel Embiid is in his 5th season, but he's never played, his 4th season. He's never played a full season.
Right, it's always
in any level.
Yeah.
In high school, college, anywhere. And Ben Simmons is a rookie. So your 2 best players are guys who haven't had a chance to hit the wall through the course of the season, haven't had a chance to go through the ups and downs. So I think the expectations that they're going to automatically come in and be a playoff team is really tough, because even no matter how great a talent is, it usually takes time. So I think they could possibly still do it, but I don't think it's a disappointment if they don't, because there are steps you got to take. And one of the first steps you got to take to be a contending team in the NBA is you got to play a full season. And that's what I'm waiting to see them do.
But here's the thing, and this is where I'll disagree with you with. They were 10-72 in 2015. They won 28 last year. 28 games virtually without Embiid for half a season. So again, it gets more in line with what they're selling the fan base. Okay, he's gonna rest, no back-to-backs, what's going on with Fultz. There's never been this transparency, so I think sometimes it rubs the fan base the wrong way. I certainly think with the players that they have, even with Embiid and Simmons, and they're dealing with Redick, but again, you know what you get, he's actually had a pretty good year. I don't know if they're going to make a trade or not for another scorer, but again, I just look at it as, to me, even if you get to 40-41 and you're that 8th seed, at least the fan base can get a little taste of the playoffs for some of the nonsense they had to deal with during this whole tanking process over the last 3 to 4 years. That's the way I look at it.
No, and I can see, you wanting to be rewarded for having to put up with a lot of mess, I forgot to mention him. Fultz. I just feel like the team did a disservice to him by putting him on the court.
Now let me ask you this: who's culpable for that? If you have a kid that changes his shot or then he gets hurt, and again, there's not. And I agree with you. If you can't stick him out there if he's got zero confidence in himself, the kid's going to embarrass himself. But if he's healthy, and we've been told he's healthy, then why isn't he out there?
Yeah, because I think, again, if he's not there physically or mentally, you're doing him a disservice by putting him out there on the court. Because if his confidence is his main issue, and you throw him out there and he can't even score against second-tier guys, second-line guys, you're definitely not going to help his confidence by putting him out there. And I think that, you start to question yourself, you doubt yourself, and he's under a lot of pressure. I mean, he's the number one pick. There are a lot of guys that went after him who were having some phenomenal seasons, rookie seasons.
Yep.
So I'm sure that's difficult to process if it's not coming as easy for you as it once did. So I think that if you know he's not there mentally, there's no need to throw him out there. If he has a shoulder problem and it's been evident that he has had a shoulder problem, you can say he has a shoulder problem. Ben Simmons had a foot problem. I'm pretty sure that there was some point during the course of last season that he could have played a game last year.
Right.
But he decided to sit out. His agent decided to make sure he sat out the entire year so he'd be ready for this year. And you look at him, and it looks like a guy who's a rookie, but who definitely had a redshirt season and got to learn. If Fultz had been allowed to just kind of get his mind right and learn, I think Philly fans would have understood it. I think they would have been disappointed, but now they're just sort of, disturbed because it's like, wait, what are you doing to this kid? And why are you trying to ruin our future?
And you look at the history that they've had with these injuries. And I remember when Colangelo came out, he said, look, we should become a little more transparent. We should be honest with the fan base. So you're right. I mean, it still kind of sticks in their crawl. A couple more before I let you get out of here. How about the Wizards? Because if you look at the Wizards, you mentioned Toronto. I've been a huge fan. I love the backcourt. I mean, I'm a huge Wall fan. I just think this team, because they're kind of another tier below Boston, to me, they need more depth and they need a little firepower, and to really try to break through as a legit contender to at least really compete now and make some noise in the Eastern Conference. Do you think they'll go out and make a trade?
I think they're going to have to, because what they have going on now is not conducive to success. They're not doing what's necessary to win games. They're not competing on a nightly basis. They're not focused, and they don't like they enjoy playing with each other right now. The chemistry appears to be a huge issue with this squad because they're not playing for each other. They're not hustling for each other. They're not working for each other. And whatever happened, over the course of them making it to Game 7 of the conference semis last year to right now, it seems to just fractured. I'm just from watching them, and they just don't seem to come with the right energy or right focus. And they start to believe their own hype. And now the fact that they're struggling, it's sort of starting to, have them splinter. And I just feel like they have to add some energy. They have to add something, because what they're working with now is going to fall apart really soon if they don't do something.
Last one for you. Was it just a toxic environment in Milwaukee? Was the message from Jason Kidd not resonating? I mean, there's a couple of reports that him and Jabari Parker weren't speaking. The Bucks wanted to fire him after last season. I mean, when I remember when they made the hire and everyone said, hey, this is going to be a great hire. Here's a guy that can change the culture of that franchise. He can be a head coach with the Milwaukee Bucks for the next, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. I mean, what happened there?
Well, I think that's definitely what he thought was going to happen. I mean, he's taking over a group of kids who are like 19, 20 years old. And, you got to feel excited as a coach about where they're going to go in the next 10 years. And, what he did for Giannis Antetokounmpo by putting the ball in his hands and turning him into, a really all-star, a great, MVP caliber player, he deserves some credit for that. But I think he wanted the team to give him more, and there was a lot of impatience, and there probably was not a lot of trust in Jabari Parker's knee, and the fact that he's been injured 2 of his first 3 years, and it's just not really working out the way he had hoped in terms of him being a guy on the floor. And in some ways, he sort of duplicates what Giannis does, but doesn't do it as well. So I think that there was just disconnect between what management wanted to do and what Jason Kidd wanted to do. And when you have those kind of problems, eventually you just have to cut bait. And sometimes it's good to be out ahead of situations before they get bad. And I think that's what really happened here, is that they could kind of see down the line that this could get worse, and not just in terms of on the court, but in terms of the disagreements between the front office and Jason Kidd. And they just wanted to start over from scratch and just say, you know what, this isn't working out. We're not going to invest our time and energy in this any longer.
All right, I'll let you out here on a light note. You went to Florida A&M, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Besides you, who's the most famous alum to come out of there? Let's see if we're on the same page here.
Oh, my gosh. Most famous FAMU alum.
Put you on the
spot. Man, that's a tough one.
Well, let's see. I always try to add a little curveball.
I mean, Althea Gibson.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought maybe you were going to go Meadowlark Lemon.
Okay, I can do that.
Can you go Common or Vince Coleman too?
I can go Common for sure, because Common. The rumor when I was a freshman was that I stayed in Common's dorm room.
Oh, that's your claim to fame.
That's not my claim to fame, but that was the rumor when we were staying there.
Dude, so. Have you used it to your advantage though? When I was in A&M.
Not in the least.
All right, maybe that's not the card you want to keep up your up your sleeve. So. All right, listen, hey, I appreciate a couple moments. Great stuff as always. Hopefully we can talk a little more during the season and come playoff time. Appreciate a couple moments, Michael.
All right, thank you very much.
You got it, Michael Lee. Good stuff joining us on the Boardwalk Honda hotline.